zoo here in town.
All right, our time, 2:30, has now arrived. So welcome to creating an asynchronous course, a case study. And I think I should use the right computer, that would be good.
Yeah,
There we go.
Whoops,
Now I'm a
backspace.
little past. Okay, so introductions. I'm Sally Wise. I'm Emerita Professor of Law and Director of the Law Library at the University of Miami. And when I retired, I decided to move to Chicago area. So I'm now in the Chicago area, so I'm right next door to Callie. And this is Deb Quintal, Callie Director of Curriculum Development. Name, email, and phone numbers are on there for questions, all of us. And we also have Elmer's name, phone number, and email, because he's an important part of this whole presentation too, since he and Sam did a lot of design work. So what I am doing is I'm teaching online an asynchronous course using Twin, and I decided to really take a full look at the course, and I challenged myself to use all the Callie tools, because I do some, but not all, so I really wanted to investigate and use all of them in the asynchronous class. We're also going to talk a little bit about face-to-face and synchronous too, as we go through. So, first things first are the Callie lessons. And I just want you to know that when I was in law school in the 70s, I used a Callie lesson, and it was like, in a sense, like a dot matrix printer or a teletype, because it would go like this, and there would be a question, and then you would somehow type an answer, and then it would go like this to tell you if you were, right or wrong. And it was Yak, your amiable computer. So I've seen Callie lessons for a long time. And I've used him in my courses for a long time. So this is just the page for legal research. And there is a whole group of legal research Callie lessons. So started out. And for those of you who haven't used all the features of possibly the lessons, you can see over in the left-hand corner, faculty view. So if you as a faculty member want to see how the lesson is put together, you can click on that. And this is what you'll see. And I'll let Deb, I just want to mention this. This gives you an idea, revised summer 2014. So you know when it was last revised. And of course, you always want to take a look at the Callie lesson before you assign it. But I'm using this because evaluating websites is something that hasn't dramatically changed in a few years. So, Dad, do you want to kind of explain what else they can see on this?
Sure.
View?
So first of all, let me mention that this summer we have undertaken a massive review and revision project of the 160 plus legal research and writing lessons. So the plan, if all goes well, is that they will all have been reviewed and revised by the start of fall semester, whatever year we're in, 2019, fall semester 2019. Everything should be fresh and sparkly up on the website by the end of the first week of August into the second week of August, sort of thing. So if you're planning on assigning one of these lessons and you want to know where it is in the progress, feel free to look, and you're either going to see something that says revised spring or summer 2019, or if it doesn't, send me an email and I'll tell you where the lesson is in progress. So there are a number of things that you can see. The version date that's in the upper right-hand corner is often different than the revision date. And what happens with a revised, when we say revised summer 2014, that means the last substantive revision that happened. And version 2019 means on that date, on March 3rd, 2019, someone in Cali's staff, speaking of myself in the fourth person, I think, or something, went into that lesson and did something. And we could have clarified something that had popped up through student feedback. We could have changed the way the answers appear because we look at it and realize all the choices are A as correct through the whole lesson. Something that we just made a minor change. And then all these blue links in here, let's make this a little bit bigger here, if I can find my, woo, there, okay. Not much bigger, but, so you can see an index of editorial and revision notes, so you can go through and see in detail whether the lesson was revised and reviewed, or whether we fixed a page or something like that. You can see a list of all the referenced websites. So if you're curious whether or not a particular government website is used in the lesson, you can see a page type index if you have a fear of true-false, and you're passing that fear on to your students. You can see whether true-false questions appear, and if you just want to see what all the pictures are, you can see a list of all of them. This is a full text version of the lesson. With the legal research lessons, it's rather linear, but if you're looking at some of the substantive lessons, when you look at this document, which is a giant HTML that you can print out, sit in a comfy chair at home and review, or if you're looking at the mapper feature, which is like a subway map of all the routes through the lesson. In some of the substantive lessons, the path will be more convoluted because it's based on student choices and their progress goes different ways based on choices they make.
So, yeah, take a look, okay, Deb already mentioned this, so we'll move on. And what I've used and it's been around for Cali for a while, is this lesson links. And it's the whole idea of analytics. Because, one was always curious, how are these students actually answering these questions? And were there areas that the instructor needed to, step back and do a little bit more discussion? So that's why Lesson Links was born. And what you have to do is decide what Cali lessons you want your students to look at, and then you add them to lesson links. And so here are the Cali lessons I've used, and then here are my analytics that you can see. We can go into one of these, we're going to go to the evaluating website, and you start seeing what is going on. And over on the left, those are all the questions in the Cali lessons. So, and you can click on those and go see what the lesson was, where it was in the lesson. And the first one, all my students got 100%. So every 13 of them who took it all did well. Down here on evaluation quiz, 13 who took it, we only had 31% correct. So I know that's a place where I need to relook. And another thing, kind of moving just a little bit, the idea of the lesson links is the student has to use a particular link to access the question. And for some of my students over the years, that has been difficult to explain to them to use. They somehow seem to want to go the long way and go out of, let's say, Twin, where I have it all organized, they can click and go to the particular lesson, and they go to, just a regular Cali and run the lesson, which drives me crazy because I want them to run it through the lesson link so I get the analytics.
The other thing I'll mention there is this is not a secure test site. So what students can do is the flip side of misunderstanding the directions is the understanding the directions and choosing to run the lesson first on the website,
Oh, yeah.
jot down all the correct answers, then follow Sally's lesson link, and hopefully they've jotted down carefully, and they score 100%. So if you're seeing unusual numbers, things that are unexpected from particular students or groups of students, recognize your lesson link, while it's the identical lesson that's on the main website, it may not be the first time the student has experienced the lesson. My thought is it's just bonus learning.
Yeah.
And you just have to recognize that they're coming in the front door of a house when they come in through the main Cali website, and they're sort of coming in the side door to the lesson when it's the same house. They're coming in the side door when they do a lesson link, and they're still, running around your house, learning things.
Well, and what I tell my
I
students.
hope I didn't surprise you.
No, that's absolutely correct. And what I tell my students, this is not, I'm not grading you. I'm giving, a point or two, just kind of encouragement to go to the lesson links. Because I'm not going to give them a point or two if they go in the front door. But explaining this can be kind of interesting.
So you can't track,
This is what this screen is showing you. This is very exciting.
but outside the system.
If you go to the dashboard, your dashboard, they go to their dashboard. If my name is by the lesson, they went through the lesson link. So that's the way, Elmer, yeah.
Yeah, so, when anybody runs a lesson, we record everything, right? So what Lesson Link does is Lesson Link allows you as the teacher to see what the student did.
But the ones that they're going in the front door.
They
be
can
tracked.
see what they did, but you can't. Yeah.
No, but from my point of view, if I'm gonna give them a point for doing the right thing, and they swear on a stack of Bibles that they went through Lesson Link, but I can't see the analytics, I just tell them to go look at the dashboard, and if they don't have Y's by that lesson, they went through the front door, and so.
Is there a campus admin feature where we can just see how many are running from our campus?
Yes.
And then perhaps say, on this one, everybody went through the front door and then they followed Sally's link? Would we be able to get that detail or just?
You don't, not that much detail.
Okay.
But we do provide, if you're logged into the site and you go to the page for your school, which you can find if you look at your profile, there's a link for your school, you should see a tab that says dashboard. If you look at that, there's a set of reports and graphs that have some basic, like high-level stuff. So you can see stuff like the lessons that have been run the most in the last, I think it's 30 days, and how many students have registered and that sort of stuff.
Can every faculty member at a school see that?
Yes, but
Okay.
only for their own school.
Right.
Right. And we are talking about, Deb was talking about, front door and side door.
I've created new confusing lexicons for us, sorry.
But it's accurate.
But
It is.
I just wanted to say, on my lesson links, some people come to the side door and do the same thing. They'll take the lesson 3 times at the side door. But it's designed only to, tabulate the first lesson, the first time they do the run.
And the student has to finalize the score.
That's right.
So it's not enough that they do the lesson if they don't hit the last screen and they choose a button that says finalize my score. Things will not appear.
Yeah, they will.
Well, what about the certificate thing we were having? They will?
Yeah, they will, but what happens is they can always go back in.
Yeah,
Once
they can
finalize.
resume.
They can resume, but they always end up back to the same place.
And you can see
Right.
here, they
They
can
can't
see that I
choose.
didn't finish
Right.
that lesson.
Right.
Right.
But again, that is something, you know, that that's actually what I put on my syllabus. You have to use a lesson link and complete the lesson. But they can see this on their dashboard, and that's nice, because it isn't me saying, you know, from what I can see, they can see the same thing I'm seeing, so.
Ready?
Yes. All right, so now this is back to that first question where my students got 100%. This is if you looked at the question, what the question was in the lesson. And so the next one, this is the question where they only got 31% correct. And this was evaluating this website. And so I'm going to have to work on, have more discussion on evaluating a website, because they should have said all the 4 evaluation criteria, you know, this web page fell short of all of them, and they decided not so much.
And we're looking at the text faculty view of this page
Right.
right now. We're not looking at the way the student would have seen this page. So the student is not told, hey, it's a picture.
Yeah, right.
Right.
So, I mean, so that's really useful, that I know I need to go in and work on that area. I'll let Deb talk about editing a Cali lesson. If you want to tweak it, you can certainly do that.
Right. So this big blank screen represents the mystery of editing lessons and all the excitement that that entails. So the way to edit a screen is through our software Cali Author, which yesterday Elmer and Sam introduced our new web-based authoring software that will be coming out soon. But right now the way you do it is with our software called Cali Author. And the best way to plan to edit a lesson, which means you can remove pages, change text, do anything that the word edit would normally suggest, is to telephone or email me and get some details from me on how to do this. Best not to do it Sunday night for a Monday morning class. Best to give us a good, work day and a half sort of thing to go through it. But basically anything in a lesson can be altered. Obviously, you can add things, that means you can take away things, you can divide things into multiple lessons. It's not that difficult, there's a tiny bit of a learning curve, and it's just more fun to do a learning curve with someone. So I am volunteering to be your learning curve buddy. So.
And the next screen.
And once you edit your own lesson, then you get to actually push something up onto a website. I know, it's exciting. You don't have to clear this with your IT people at your school. You don't have to do complicated, activities. You just log into the Cali website in the software, press 2 buttons, and it automatically appears up on the Cali website. But it doesn't appear on the main menu of all the Cali lessons in our library. It does not become one of the 1,066 lessons that we have. Wasn't that an impressive drop-in of knowledge? Instead, it's on a unique URL. And you share that unique URL with your students through Lesson Link, and they can easily find it. You can add it to one of your course pages to show them all the courses or all the lessons that you've included, and then you can see the analytics for it.
And if you've gotten so excited about editing a Cali lesson, you can actually then just design your own, just for your students.
Right, you could completely write your own lesson and publish it up on the Cali website. Again, it has a unique URL, so the rest of the world won't find it. And you can see the names of all the students that are running it. The odd thing that always happens every semester when someone does this is at the end of the semester, the faculty member / author is reading through the list of their student names and they hit a stranger. And they think that the lesson has gone public to the entire Cali world, and what it is Elmer and I are in different sections of a contract law class, and Elmer's professor wrote this really cool lesson, and Elmer shared the link with me, and I did the lesson, even though I'm not in the same class as Elmer. And so you might meet some strangers that way.
So you don't use your real name.
What? No, you do have to use your real name because you're
Well, you
logged
don't
into the
use your
Cali
real
website. Right, you can only run the lessons if you're on the Cali website. So every so often we get someone who's jumped schools, you know, in this real, you know, because there are all these ways to meet people who don't live in your city these days. So that's kind of wild. But if you want to learn how to author a lesson, it takes me 45 minutes on the internet, like a webinar type thing to teach you. And that's because I got to shoot the breeze with you for a good 5 minutes to find out what you're up to. So I can really cut it down shorter. All right.
And Elmer, Deb was talking, I mean, of the software at this point, or, because it will be on the web
Right.
at sooner than
Yeah,
later. There's
right. But
two-
it will be on the web.
formats.
I could probably do a webinar about the web at that point too, I think, to talk you how to use the software.
Yeah.
So, right, and we'll have FAQs and instructional videos and crystal balls, things to assist you in your
Well, because
receiving
once it's
knowledge.
on the web, it becomes, in a sense, a little easier, because you don't have to have your laptop with the software on it.
That's
to
right, you
co-
could use
to do it.
a Mac.
Right.
Right now,
That's true.
we're PC based. So if you were thinking of buying a Mac, this is a great reason to do it, so that you can use it. We can write a letter to your dean if that helps. All right,
Okay, so this is our next discussion of lessons, because what we've talked about up until now is they're doing the lesson away from class. And so Deb was talking about using lesson live in class.
right. So if you would all, anyone who has a device who wants to play along, which would be fun if everyone did, go to the Cali website and log in, if you would, with your own personal login information, which I hope you all have with you, or your password is ASDF1234. Okay. And then, when you've logged in, what did I just give your password away, Gary? Sorry, guys.
It's not you, it's Tom Ryan.
All right. Then, if you would go to this tiny, well, I guess it's not a tiny URL, it's not
It's
a
a
tiny
short
URL.
URL.
It's a shortened, a URL shortener, our very own URL shortener. That's, what is, oh, that's LI, and this is the letter L. That's odd. The font flips.
That is a little weird.
Yeah.
This must be
Actually.
one. Yeah, I
That's a
copied it.
one.
I copied
That's
it
one
right
VL, looks like the right.
from the shortener.
That's strange.
Right.
That's,
the end.
yeah. Oh,
This
look.
is how accidents happen when you're getting a tattoo. I'm just saying.
What would have displayed in the web would have been even, on the website would have been easier to spot, but this is PowerPoint adjusting your fonts for
Right,
you.
right,
so,
right.
yeah.
So the last three characters are 1VL, lowercase
It's
l.
1VL.
Right, 1VL. All right, so has everyone got this shortened URL?
What's it supposed to take us to?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you,
What are we
Jennifer.
supposed to get? Because I got me to the CaliCon
I got podcasts.
Yeah, I
podcast.
got a list of podcasts too.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
And it's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing, that's not quite what we were looking for.
Slaved on this lesson.
Maybe it's a one.
No one's seeing this? Maybe it's a 1.
Maybe it is a one on the end.
Try 1 at the end.
Evil.
You should get this.
Can you take us back one just so we don't?
Of course I can.
Thank you.
That's an excellent idea, Meg.
I'm just repeating other people.
Oh.
I'm standing on the shoulders of greatness.
No regrets.
Oh, it shouldn't be capital I don't think, although it could be.
What shouldn't be capitalized?
It is capital I.
It's a, oh, that's a
It's a
capital I.
1V
1V capital I. Oh.
Man,
Wow, isn't that easy to present misinformation? Oh, all right. I should have kept iterating shorteners until I got one I liked.
Yeah,
All right.
capital I.
1V What piece like that is? Big eyes.
Yeah, capital.
Thanks for
Oh.
showing me. Bingo.
All right. So, are you,
Yes.
What are we supposed to get?
you're supposed to get, hold on,
Let's explore.
this.
Not quite.
Learning outcome.
The page before that.
All right, you're supposed to get the page before that.
Right.
I knew that.
Which is a page that says, as the title of CaliCon 19 and Lesson Live.
Oh, okay, great.
CaliCon 19 and Lesson Live.
And then if you would click that,
Well, you have to
or
go all the way
click-
down to the
go
bottom.
to the bottom and
run
click-
the button.
click the button that says run.
Start.
Start,
There you go.
right.
And then that will get you to.
Then you'll catch up with me. All right,
And then
so
we'll-
here you all,
Oh, there's people are turning. Okay,
Cool.
de-anonymize the names, Deb.
all right. So,
There we go. Awesome.
violating FERPA, not violating FERPA. Not violating.
The FERPA button.
So you can see, now, the benefit of obviously violating FERPA is bad. See camera, violating FERPA bad. So in the classroom, the default is to not show the people's names. However, in the classroom, or in your office, when you get back to your office, you can look at this lesson again, and you can connect the names to it, and then I can see that Steve really got all the concepts, but Elmer is a little shaky on, well, he really nailed the first question, and then the rest of them were just, you know, so you can sort of pinpoint where your questions are. All right, so as we work through this, we're going to watch everybody's responses come in.
Well, de-anonymize that. Violate FERPA. Yay.
We're all-
Yay.
Well, it's more exciting that way.
All right, more exciting this way. Okay.
Because
Now,
then
so
you
this
start
is-
seeing who's making,
All right, so here's our table of contents. I'm going to start out here. Look at this, I included this a marvelous image here. Oddly, the numbers all like are multiples of each other in this weird mathematical way. But what you want to do is answer this question. Does your birthday fall on an odd or even date? So pick your answers. We're seeing the answers come in.
Which, the year, the month, the day?
Odd or even date. Wow, I didn't think of that. Okay. I was thinking of like the number day, not the month.
Of the
It,
month.
you know, it doesn't matter because you're gonna get credit for both. Law is complicated. We need a statutory interpretation lesson to really, you know, get to the bottom of this. So just pick a number and tell me whether it's odd or even.
Everybody gets credit.
Doesn't really matter that much. Okay, so we're getting about a 50-50 answer here. So this is where we are on this. Everybody got it right. So now we're gonna go to, oh, some people are jumping ahead. Oh,
yeah, they're getting it wrong? No.
okay. So which direction did you travel to arrive at CaliCon? So you can see the percentage of students getting this right and wrong.
Elmer's cheating.
I am not.
All right, so we have everybody answered in? Yep, everybody answered in. Oops, that's not what I want, that's my feedback.
Yeah, that goes to Deb. So if you
Yeah.
have to talk to Deb.
Well, right, it goes to more people than me. Where is my, how do I see my response on this?
You need to answer yourself.
I have to answer myself? Okay. All right. All right, so I randomly labeled a choice as correct, just so we would have a broad base of answers. And I like to walk through magnetic fields, just a hobby. Okay. All right, so up at the top, you can see where we are. If I go to lesson analytics, I'll get more details. So let's move on to the next page. Where was CaliCon 17? What law school hosted the conference in 2017?
Shoot.
So if I were, because I'm seeing these results, and if I were masking my screen here, I could call on Anne, who got this correct, and I could ask her her reasoning behind this. Or I could pick on her husband Steve, who didn't respond, and ask him why he failed to respond. Because there's nothing like breaking up a study group. All right, so I believe the answer was Sandra Day O'Connor, and we started with the drum circle, which several people asked me if we were starting with the drum circle today, because apparently we traumatized many of you. Sorry about that. All right, so I believe we come to our last question here. And so what I'm seeing here is not what you folks are going to be seeing, I'm hoping. So what is the unofficial yet frequent social event? You're not going to be seeing the questions like they are. You have to type in a word. A short answer like this, I would be able to go back to my office and see every short answer all of you had put in. Yeah.
Deb, I believe for liability purposes, you meant to say peer hike. not-
Yes, I did.
Yes.
Right, peer hike. That is correct. Yeah, thank you very much for correcting my typo. See, that's the sort of thing that would say revised 2014, but version March 2019. Because someone would have pointed that out to us at some point, and we would have fixed peer hike to peer hike. All right, so if I look at my lesson analytics now, I can see how every student did, and I can catch some patterns. I can see how questions were answered, how students, and if I go down here to page performance, I can see that basically this would be a class that might need some help on where past conferences were and points of the compass, because my question was faulty, because I believe that you can time travel. Debatable. All right, so these are the sort of things that you can get through using Lesson Live to bring some experiential engagement into the classroom.
That's not.
And include-
experiential.
It's not experiential, you're absolutely right. Thank you, Chris.
Sorry.
No, you're right, it's not experiential. It's engaging though.
It is, it's never-endingly engaging.
Right, but it is, you're absolutely right, it is not experiential. That's absolutely right. But anyway, you can bring some activity into the classroom. Yeah, I'll make it activity. All right, so that is our exciting world of Lesson Live.
Can you export from QuizRite?
We're gonna
To
get
what?
into, we're gonna get into
Lesson
quiz
Live.
right in a little,
To what?
just a.
Yeah, QuizRite's wired right into this.
Into Lesson
Yeah.
Live?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
yeah, that's how QuizRite
Quiz
works,
right is gonna look
just like that.
just like
Okay.
that.
All
So
right.
when you do quiz right live, it'll look
Okay, because I
Oh,
just
look,
thought of like
it's
quiz
QuizRite.
right.
Oh, you
Right.
did see mine.
So, since I was teaching asynchronous, my quiz right is, done not in a face-to-face class. So this is what the page looks like and what you do. And essentially, you add questions. And so, and I'm gonna, oh god, now let me, yeah, I got things a little bit, we'll kind of move on. All right, you essentially add questions, and then you can also make the decision whether or not, it's basically the idea of quiz right is assessment. I mean, that's the basic idea of it. So it's not one where you have, that you could have, free-flowing answers. It's true, false, yes, no, multiple choice. So those are your options, and no images, so it's basically text. One of the things you have to decide is, do you want to give them the answers immediately? Or do you want to not, and then, discuss it? some other way. I ended up, and I'm just trying it, and my students right here, this was last night, and five of them have answered. They have until Monday at 11:59 to finish it. When I worked on the questions, I decided to show the answer so they get an immediate response. Because I thought that would be, better to do if you're doing the assessment, an immediate response. And then I'll explain later how I'm going to talk about it with the students. So, and what I also did, since I had been assigning the lessons, I took some of these questions right from the Cali lesson and that I had assigned. So in theory, they should have looked at the Cali lesson. Now I'm, asking them. And it'd be interesting to know how many of them figured out I was asking the same questions in the Cali lesson. But so that's what I was doing. And you can see it is the same thing. So if you did Quiz Right live, which you can do, because you can just give the URL to the students in a face-to-face live or a synchronous live class, and then you'll start seeing the name. Well, you won't. The name, they won't see the names, but you'll start seeing the answers come in. Mm-hmm. And so you can discuss them at that point.
The other thing that we can do with QuizRite is when Sally says she took the questions from the Cali website, she's talking about like actually opening up a lesson and grabbing them from a particular lesson. And what we're doing in the background at Cali is, wait a minute, why can't I launch this? Excuse me?
Try under Cali dashboard at the top, that link works better.
Oh, yeah, okay. So if I wanted to create a question, there's a question bank here that Cali is populating. Right now we've got a number of contract lessons and a number of property lessons in. Our goal for the summer, and don't tell my new colleague who started 36 hours ago.
And who's right over there.
Oh, hi Sarah. I didn't see you. Well, starting Tuesday then, I'll just be right up front about it. Starting Tuesday, we're going to be adding more questions going for the core 1L/bar courses first. And we're going to be adding more questions to the question bank. And we're trying to tag them by subject, like big subject contract, and then subcategories down. So if you're a faculty member and you want something on the Battle of the Forms, you can quickly find a number of questions, scroll through them, decide the one you want, and then just immediately add them in. And they'll come with the question and the feedback already there, so you don't have to actually write the words to make a question. And you can combine existing questions with your own questions and then populate your own question bank with your own questions.
And then, do you have in that Cali list of questions, did you also copy the answers?
Our question bank includes answers.
Okay, so
Correct
then the answers
answers.
are there.
Right, it includes answers.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Because that's what I did. It was, I decided I was going to give them the answers. And one of the things that Elmer had mentioned, because Elmer did a webinar a while ago, how easy, now that you all work to make it really easy to copy and paste into the box, and it does work really nicely. So I know my understanding was that can certainly be a challenge sometimes, copying and pasting. So that was nice to do. So you could type out your questions in a Word doc and then questions and answers and then just copy in. Because one of the things I did learn was there's no spell checking going on, so you need to be your own spell checker. And so that, putting them in a Word doc first and then running a spell checker,
Right,
would
so
work.
normally, there it goes, it's a little slow. So I'm running Grammarly up in the cheap version, the free gifted version of Grammarly on my browser. So it's going to tell me that Friday is not accurate. But if you're not running something like that, we're adding a spell checker, that's a feature to come. But you might want to proofread.
Yeah, and you should check your browser settings, because a lot of browsers have spell check built into them now, and it should pick up in that box. So
Okay.
some of that depends on how your browsers might be set up and stuff too.
And the questions are weighted the same weight. And you can also use, I mean, this is, I'm using performative assessment, but if you wanted, and you're not grading them, I mean, if you want to use it as just a quiz and, you know, it's, and graded, they're just, the questions are all rated the same amount. So, and what I have, okay, QuizWrite Live.
Yeah.
Is the, really, you see the lesson live was the same as you see the QuizWrite. They would need the URL. And what I actually need to back up is show you what is so nice is, this is my assessment quiz on lesson links. And I didn't show you, well, I did show you, these are the results, analytics, and download. You can move your quiz to this page, and so here's my assessment quiz for module 2, and this is where I pick up.
So
the
this you
analytics.
wrote with QuizWrite, and everything above it is an existing Cali lesson that you
Right.
created a lesson link for.
Yeah,
Right.
right. Does that make sense? So this is what my students will see, a page that has all my lesson links plus the QuizWrite. So that works out nicely. I'm just sending them to the same page, and this one they can't go, assessment quiz, they can't go into any front door. So these are all side doors.
Mhm.
So that's nice for them because it's not, and I don't have to email them, you know, the URL or do anything like that. So QuizWrite Live, ClassCaster. Now ClassCaster is a WordPress blog hosted by Callie. So what I decided to, you know, being an asynchronous class, I have recordings, I mean, I have a lot of different technology and just type of learning. So what I decided to, for using ClassCaster, the blog, is to use it to discuss some of the, you know, assessment quiz answers that need to be worked on a little bit more, that the area. The same thing for lesson links, what lessons need or parts of lesson I want to discuss a little bit more with them. And I also use on Twin the discussion forums. So I want to talk a little bit where the discussion forum is, I put an answer, question, they answer, and then they have to respond to a colleague's answer. So we'll talk about that in the blog. These are a few things you need to think about. Who should have access to the blog? How does that work? Because you're signing up for it, there's some questions that need to be answered. And I would suggest you talk to Elmer about how you make a decision on who has access, just your class, everybody in the world, how you want to handle it. And whether to allow comments, because if you want comments on the blog, then you have to, you know, handle things a little bit differently. What I'm doing right now is just make it, because it's easier, make it public, and then I can password, you know, some blog posts if I'm saying, well, that question 5 and this, you know, Callie lesson confused all of you, and so I can password that. So the blog, I'm hoping this will really work nicely, because again, it's a different, you know, technique for learning for them. So that's what and it works out. So I will know soon how it will work out. But it's basically a WordPress, and I did a little bit with WordPress, and so I figure once I get to the log part, should be pretty straightforward. Whoops. Okay, Deb.
All right, so other sessions have mentioned that Callie is doing a free casebook project. We have over 20 titles at this point, and some of the titles are listed here or subject areas, I should say. In some of the subjects, we have multiple casebooks, torts, contracts, for example. And the casebooks come in what I consider to be 5 formats. Most of them come in a print format, some do not. Steve's written a book for us on wetlands, it's a course source book. His does not come in paper because it would not work. It's many, many links and video links, and it would just be a large paper blob with some good pictures to look at. And then the main formats are an EPUB, works on anything, a Mobi, which works on your Kindle, a PDF, which works on just about anything, and then a Word. And the benefit of Word is the books are coming with a Creative Commons license. And so the Word document allows you to open up the Word document and take your favorite parts of the book and use them just for your course or add parts to the book and things like that. So that's, the books are, everything is free except the print. And the print is the exact cost that it costs to print the book. So a 650-page book is a little under $13 with shipping at about $7. It's a print-on-demand service. This is pretty much an overview. It's Callie's FDA non-approved food chart of books. We're working mainly on 1L casebooks with an upper level, and we're moving into success books and materials. This is, and the success area is going to be supplemented by a new fellowship that we have starting in a few weeks. It's going to be bar skills, law school skills, bar exam success. So why Elaine Dell? So it's pretty much compatible with anything that you might own. It comes with a Creative Commons license. We are running right now a couple different Creative Commons licenses, which is a little tricky. And you can adopt the materials for free and use them. Even if you want to give your students a particular casebook that you've used since the day after the dawn of time, you might want to give them some new problems. All the casebooks have teacher's manuals that come with them with the answers and solutions to the puzzles and questions. By puzzles, I don't mean jigsaw and things. I mean the intellectual puzzles that are in the casebook. So you might have some fresh teaching material that the students have not yet seen. Yes, Elmer, point.
Quick note, in order to get the teacher's manuals, you have to log in as a teacher.
Right, so the students can download the books
Without logging in.
without logging in, right. They just have to, we're tracking.
There's a little form to fill out.
Yeah, there's a form for their name, but they don't have to log in. But faculty must prove to me that they are authentic faculty if they don't already have an account. But if you have an account on the Cali website, log in with that account, and you get to see the teacher's manual. That's the thing that we treat a little more seriously than broad scope open. And these are just some reminders of what Creative Commons license is, or the one that we use primarily. It's a give attribution, share it, and non-commercial use. And then this is how you can edit one. It's a Word document. So you download a Word document. Don't do it from the Marriott. It takes it took 25 minutes for me to download Steve's book the other night. I was looking at some reading material, you know. So yeah, download it from a very, very fast internet connection. Open it up, edit it, and then share it like it's a Word file. So just treat it like a Word file, and it will be good to you. All right. Oh.
So we're talking about Steve. This is his Wetlands Law course source. And I love his chapter 3 on ad law. I think it's just great, and I want my students, this is a really good discussion, introduction to administrative law. So what I did, it's chapter 3, I then, took it and with all the attribution, and I didn't edit it, so and then put it up on Twen so my students can look at it. And rather than telling them just to go to Cali and download the whole thing, I just took out the chapter. So that's one of the really nice things about, again, using eLangDal and also doing the editing and being able to take snippets or exercises or parts with attribution to use. And there is also an eLangDal coming soon page on Cali, and if you want to subscribe, you can see what else is coming along. And there are a number of casebook and sales supplement, Wyoming workers' comp, international law, copyright, bioethics. So a lot of different areas are in the pipeline at this point.
Mhm.
So, right, now the InstaPoll. No, I think you were going to talk about it.
Oh, I was, all right, excellent. So,
I can't use InstaPoll, being
Well-
asynchronous.
Right, you can't use InstaPoll, that's a true statement, face-to-face is a true statement, but there's also a category that's bonus material that has not been mentioned yet and is not on the slide, and that is you could use InstaPoll in a synchronous online class. InstaPoll is made for instant polling. It's not SurveyMonkey sort of thing. So you need to keep your browser window open. So if you have a dedicated computer at your house you want to leave running for a week on one web page for InstaPoll, I think it would continue working. But assuming that you're going to close your browser at some point, the InstaPoll lasts as long as your browser window is open. And it's a very quick mechanism for polling students. I think it's very useful when no one in the class is responding. And you're having what our keynote speaker referred to as everyone, becomes fascinated by their laptop screen or papers on their desk. And you just want to get a sense of where the room is. You have everyone go to the website, punch in a number, respond to a question. Did you read the assignment? Yes, no, sort of thing.
I mean, you do it on the fly.
Yeah, right. You can also be fancy and set up questions in your PowerPoint that have choices that match the choices that automatically appear with InstaPoll. It does not archive the information. It does not identify who answered what. So in that aspect, a short auto-publish lesson running live is going to give you, like with Lesson Live, is going to give you data that you can examine later and ponder about regarding how students answered. So InstaPoll is anonymous.
And you got the next one too.
I do. Laudables. This is one of my favorite things at Cali. So Laudables is the name of Cali's ClassCaster blog that is podcasts. And you can also subscribe to Laudables on iTunes. If you search Laudables Cali, it will give you all 70 or so of our podcasts that we now have. Our more recent podcasts, say the last 60, have transcripts with them. A lot of them were done by Jennifer Martin. They're very short, 10 to 12 minutes on very narrow, thunderstorm, very narrow topics of law. And the transcript goes along. This transcript exists in a Word document. So students could capture that entire Word document and incorporate it into their notes. So that's, if you're reading a take-home exam, and it's very reminiscent of Jennifer's writing, that's why. So the Laudables, the idea is the student has walked into your classroom or to your office hour rather, with a very discrete question, and that's the response. So the Laudables are also linked off of the Cali subject outline. So if you want to know if there's a laudable in a particular subject area, you can quickly find it.
And I was just going to say, I mean, the laudables you could link in your, syllabus. I mean, you can, make it really easy for them to go. And I think I don't think there are any legal research ones, so I don't think I will be using them this time. But I could see doing it again with the asynchronous. It's nice to give them, different technology. So this is another different technology. Okay, this is the CaliCon. And if you go to YouTube, the YouTube channel, and there's, I think, a playlist for CaliCon, you can, see all the different presenters over the years. And I especially liked Ed Walters last year when he was talking about the malpractice of hunches, professional responsibility, AI, and data analytics. I thought it was a useful one to introduce, the students to some of these areas, and he also talked about professional responsibility within this arena. So I've had them, look at this, and he's a fairly engaging, speaker also. And then, so that's why there are other content in the channel, the YouTube channel, that I think, you need to kind of remember is there.
So you're using ClassCaster, Lessons, QuizWrite, the conference.
Right.
Did I miss something that you're using?
Not InstaPoll, that doesn't work. I didn't get A to J there. I just, it was just like one more thing.
That's
I
kind of a
didn't-
different path. Right.
So questions.
So I want to, first before we get into questions, I found these underneath the podium, so I assume they're presenter gifts. So I want to thank Gary and all the USC folks. I mean, this is amazing. Have you ever seen so many markers in a classroom? Well, thank you, Gary. This is really sweet. Here you go. All right. Any questions? No questions? We were crystal clear? Oh, questions?
If I cobble together different parts from different lessons, what should I do for attribution? If I'm using Cali Author, and I'm just gonna, I just want one from this and two from that. Do I keep the headers the same or combine them?
So, you can change the page names. With the web version, is it coming with an attribution line, Sam, when you move them? No. So the courteous thing to do would to just be add a tagline of where you're grabbing everything from. And then what you're probably going to want to do is open up a brand new lesson and import all these pages into the new one. So the new lesson would be set up to have your name as the author. And then in the credits, you might want to say, it's
I didn't
from.
really write this, somebody else did? No.
There you go. That would be, and you could list the somebody else's.
Yeah.
Sort of like, I'd like to thank the Academy, and all the people down. And if you want to add a tagline to everyone's page, that's pretty simple to do. And then they can see where the questions come from. And it's actually an interesting thing to let the students know that you're adding pages that you did not write. Because students will not argue with you about analysis often, but they will have no qualms about arguing with a professor from another school that is not grading them. So you can then, sort of put Professor Groman's material up and say, we haven't talked like this, we approach this topic differently than Professor Groman did. Tell us, why? What is wrong with his analysis? And the students will be eager. So attribute away, that's the best way. Good question, thank you. Yes?
I'm sorry I missed yesterday's Cali session, but on the web stuff. But if I'm making my own lesson, can I do YouTube embeds and on a thing and then ask questions about it?
Yes.
Okay. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to say, I use InstaPoll a lot in my classes, but I have to open up a PowerPoint and I'll put the question, and I use a little window with the InstaPoll, and I'll actually hide it while they're all deciding what they're going to say. Is it possible for a future version of InstaPoll to have the capability to put the question right in the InstaPoll box?
Probably not.
Okay.
And the reason is InstaPoll, we kind of like that it's really quick and fast. If you want to put the question in the box, just write a 3-question Cali lesson.
Or a quiz.
Or a quiz, right, or a quiz.
Okay.
Yeah, a quiz would be faster even.
Right.
That would work.
Right, you could write 4 questions in QuizWrite in the time it takes to write 3 in Cali Author, right. And then you have the analytics also, yeah. And you have it to use for future semesters.
Oh, and
They love InstaPoll.
that's what I wanted to mention too, on these all the analytics, they stay on the website. I've used other products where it's wipe clean and you lose all the analytics. And
Right, they
so-
move to a different tab each semester,
Right,
so, there is, you know, sort of a, oh
Archive
no, it's
tab.
gone.
Yeah,
What?
it's the archive tab.
Yeah, well, it's different.